Alrighty, what's up, everyone? What's up? Hope you guys are doing well. Super excited to be back. Today is Monday, January 5th. It is the first week of the year. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the holidays. Markets. On Friday, we end up having a decent amount of volatility, but super excited to be back. A lot of things to kind of talk about here today. A lot of things to go over since I was away the past few weeks. A lot of levels to go over. So yeah, decent amount of things to go over today, and especially with it being a new year, super excited for 2026, of course, and super excited to be back. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Victor, Wayne, Andreas. Happy New Year. You as well. B Roots, Robert, Under. Good morning, Monty, Cody, 50, Nina, Doctor. What's up, Cinna, Lamit? Good to see some familiar faces. What's up, everyone? I am Nate, Juan, Miss Reggie, Benny. Yeah, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Awesome. Let's get on to the weekly outlook. We'll go on to some of the red folder news that we do have, and then we'll get on to some of the levels. So we have a lot of things to kind of talk about today, a lot of brand new levels that I have marked out coming into this week here. So let's get on to the weekly outlook first, and then we'll head on to some charts. We'll head on to the major indices currently over the weekend. SMH, the semiconductors have been pushing up nicely. On Friday, MU, really big day. Overall markets dropped, but MU and the rest of the semis really held up nicely. And now you can see semis are gapping up here. So a lot of things to kind of talk about coming into market open. So without further ado, let's head on to the weekly outlook for this week. First things first, we'll talk about the key economic events. So key economic events coming into this week for the red folder news wise. We do have ISM manufacturing that is going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time today. As for Wednesday, we have ADP non-farm enrollment, JOLTS job opening, along with ISM services. That's going to be on Wednesday, 8:15 and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As for Thursday, we have some unemployment claims. And then, of course, on Friday, we have unemployment rate, and then we have consumer sentiment, which is going to be at 10 a.m. So decent amount of red folder news coming into this week. Really, the past 2 weeks, we kind of talked about this a bunch of times in the markets. The past 2 weeks of December, very slow, very little volatility. Really, the most volatility that we had was actually on the New Year, which was the Friday. But all of December, the past 2 weeks, very little volatility. I do expect the markets to start picking back up with the New Year. A lot of news right after the holiday season. That's usually when the markets start to see more continuation and of course more volatility as well. But at least for the red folder news events, this is what we have coming into today. And now let's go on to, actually before we do that, we still have some earnings, not any notable earnings to keep an eye out on. So let's head on to the charts to see exactly what we're looking for coming into today. All right, let me grab some water here. We'll start off on the ES and then we'll head on to the rest of the names. Okay, so yeah, coming into today and moving forward here for the overall markets, currently we're on the ES daily chart. And as you can see, we're building up higher lows. So on the daily time frame, you can see we're still very much bullish. We end up coming up in towards our higher time frame point of interest. As for the SPY, we actually ended up breaking above all-time highs, whereas the NASDAQ has really been lagging the overall market. So at least on the tech side, there hasn't been too many higher time frame setups besides the semiconductors, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But as for the ES, really moving forward, what we like to see here is the higher lows be built, continuation towards your all-time highs and above. So we really like to see this kind of flat top form and then eventually build these higher lows and continue higher. As for the levels and what we have coming into market open, let's go on to the lower time frame. So right here, as you can see, we're on the 15-minute chart. And as you can see, we're in a very minor downtrend. So we're in a very minor downtrend here in the markets. On Friday, we end up having a nice gap up, but ultimately faded the gap, rejected off key levels, and we end up filling the gap all the way back towards the downside. And now you can see we're showing a little bit of bullish price action here in the after hours. So we're kind of just right back in the similar spot where the market broke down from. So coming into today here for the ES, what we like to see is a reaction that we have off your 69.12. That's going to be the key area for me on the ES coming to market open. You can see we have multiple touches, touch here, another touch, multiple touches in the pre-market. So coming into today here for the ES, keep an eye out on your 69.12. If we can maintain above this level, we can see a potential mean reversion back up in towards our Friday's highs, which is going to be, in this case, our previous day highs. If we get underneath, we can see this potential gap fill back towards the downside, which we created here over the weekend. So this is going to be the key level coming to today here for the ES. So for the ES, this name, we'll kind of talk about the NQ. So the NQ is a little bit more bullish just because we have some semis leading the markets back towards the upside. But currently right here for the ES coming to market open, your 69.12 is going to be very key. If we go on to the SPY chart, the exact same levels that we have marked out is basically going to be your 684.50. So as you can see right here, let's actually go into the daily time frame for the SPY chart. So for the SPY, this one actually ended up making a brand new all-time high. So as you can see, higher lows are being built. We actually hit your all-time highs. So moving forward for the SPY, if we want to see upside, reclaim back above our all-time highs is going to be key, which in this case, you can just draw this line over 687.50. If we can break above your 687.50, we expect upside. Underneath your 687.50, we can expect some downside. So for the SPY coming into market open, the break and reclaim above that level is going to be key for a continued push back up and towards our all-time highs. Let's go back onto the lower time frames here. So coming to market open for the SPY chart, key levels I have marked out coming into today is going to be that 684.50, along with our previous day highs, which is your Friday's highs, 686.50. So what we like to see coming into SPY for market open, if we want to see some upside, really maintain above your 684.50 for this continued push towards the upside. If you want to see a break above your previous day highs and a potential hold of that, that's also in play for this continuation higher. So really two scenarios for upside for the SPY coming into market open. It's either going to be the break above your previous day highs or that hold of your 684.50s. Downside is going to be underneath your 684.50s for a potential push back down in towards that previous day close on the SPY chart. So 684.50 key coming into today here for the SPY. Now let's go on to the NQ. So the NQ chart, as you can see here, we end up having a pretty sharp bounce, pretty sharp drop towards the downside yesterday, which was on Friday. As for the higher time frames, if you're marking this out on the daily time frame, you can see we're kind of forming this higher time frame wedge pattern. You can see multiple touches on the NQ to both sides. We have multiple touches. So moving forward, what we like to see for the NQ is it really hold this higher time frame key level, which is just building up higher lows. So until we can break above now it's going to be break out of this really wedge pattern. That's going to be it for upside. For downside, of course, break underneath, we can see a continuation lower. But for the NQ, this is what we have. Just a lot of consolidation really the past 20 to 40 days. We've been in a little bit of a tighter range here. We're just now waiting, as I mentioned, for the break of this wedge pattern for a clear direction here for the NQ. If we go into the lower time frames coming into market open, the key levels that we have coming into today is going to be that Wednesday's lows. And we're also going to mark out the level that we broke down from, which is your Monday's lows of last week. So if we do want to see upside today, it's either going to be that bounce off your Wednesday's lows for a push higher. You can already see we have multiple touches here in the pre-market. So you're going to be looking for that pullback long, or now you're going to be waiting for the break above. Now it's going to be this Monday's lows of last week for this continued push higher. So two scenarios here for the NQ coming to market open. We are about to open up right in between its previous day's range. So I'll be a little bit more cautious right off the bat, right? It's best to wait for the first 15 to 30 minutes today, just because we do have some red folder news as well at 10 a.m. So right off the bat, you want to be a little bit cautious with the ES and NQ kind of in between its previous day's range. We had a pretty big range here on Friday. So coming into today, you want to be a little bit more cautious, at least right off the bat, for potential fake outs. The only thing that is clear is going to be the semiconductors, which we'll talk about here in a second. But this is what we have for the NQ coming to market open. If you want to see some downside, downside's going to be a little bit more difficult on the NQ, but it's going to be underneath that Wednesday's low, which is your 25,450. So this is what we have for the NQ coming into today. If we go on to the QQQ chart, as you can see, similar thesis here. We are actually about to open up right in between its previous day's range, right in the middle. So I'd be a little bit more cautious, at least right off the bat, of potential kind of fake outs. You don't really want to be trading right in between the middle of the range. My key levels that I have marked out is going to be that Wednesday's lows along with your Monday's lows of last week. So I want to be trading around these key levels, either that pullback long for that continuation towards the upside, or now it's going to be, of course, that reclaim back above your 619 for continuation higher. So these are the two scenarios that I have for upside. As for downside, key levels that I have marked out, 619 potential pop and fade, or now it's going to be some sort of opening range break for a push down in towards that previous day close. So for the overall indices coming today, be a little bit more cautious on the QQQ because we are opening up right in between the middle of the range. As for SPY, we're opening up towards the top of the range, but the key levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be this 684.50. Now let's go on to the main thing that's been leading the market the past couple of weeks is specifically the semiconductors. So if you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat. I'm going to go over the SMH here, which is a semiconductor ETF, and then we'll head on to some tech names, and then we'll head on to some other names here as well. But if you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop a like. If you guys haven't joined the daily watch list, that of course is in the description below. Alrighty, let's go on to the SMH first. So as you can see here, this is the SMH, which is the semiconductor ETF. So the semiconductor ETF has been fairly bullish compared to the overall markets, right? You can see the QQQ really inside of this range, kind of forming this wedge pattern. The SPY recently hit our all-time highs, but a little bit of a pullback after hitting our all-time highs compared to the SMH, which as you can see is building up these higher lows. And now we're breaking out towards the upside. So now you can see the SMH is clearly the leader. MU has been super hot. TSM, Nvidia, AMD, a lot of the semiconductors have been leading the market higher. So coming into today for the SMH, we can expect more continuation on the semiconductors themselves. So key levels that we have marked out on the SMH is just going to be that previous day highs, which in this case is also your previous all-time highs. So let's go back onto the lower time frames. Coming into market open, you can see nice gap up and continuation on Friday, and then another gap up as well coming into today. For the SMH, key levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be that 374, and then we're also going to have marked out your previous day highs here as well. So as long as you can maintain above key levels, we can expect continuation higher. So key levels that I have marked out, I'm just going to mark out now your pre-market highs, which in this case will be your 380, or it might change coming to market open. And then I'm also going to have marked out your previous day highs and kind of this 375 here. So a couple long scenarios for the SMH. I am fairly bullish. I'm not going to trade the SMH itself, but it's just good to look at the overall indice for a clear direction. So as long as you can maintain above key levels, which really now is going to be that previous day highs, I'm going to have a long bias here on the semiconductors for continuation higher. And with that being said, with that in mind, let's now go on to the semiconductors first, and then we'll head on to some other names here in a second. So first things first, as you can see here, let's go on to Nvidia. So Nvidia right here on the higher time frames, Key levels that we have marked out, at least on the daily chart, 168. We also have your 184 consolidation, right? Once we're able to break back above this consolidation, now we can expect this to continue back towards the upside. If we're going back onto the lower time frames here now, key levels that we have marked out is going to be that last week's highs. So as you can see, nice continued push towards the upside, consolidation period. Now what we like to see is the break above your 193, hold above that level for this continued push towards the upside here. So let's go into the lower time frames. Key levels that we have marked out is going to be that previous day highs. Multiple touches here for Nvidia. The one long scenario that we have coming to market open, we actually have two. It's going to be the break above your previous day highs, retest of this for continuation higher. Another possible scenario is kind of this opening drive play for a push towards the upside here as well. So let's keep an eye out on Nvidia. And of course, it could as well come all the way back down in towards that previous day close, and you could be looking for the bounce much later into the session. But that's what we have for Nvidia coming into today. Higher time frame, in my opinion, as I mentioned, looks good, right? You kind of have this big push higher. You have this kind of W shape recovery, right? A little bit of consolidation. Now we're just looking for the break above, hold for continuation higher. So we'll keep an eye out on Nvidia today above your 192.50. It's going to be one of our main watches, at least coming into this week with the semiconductor strength. If you go on to AMD, another one that's been showing a lot of strength here. This one's actually been showing a little bit more strength compared to Nvidia. Let's change the color on this. So for an AMD, the key levels that we have marked out was really this 220. You can see a little bit of consolidation here. We kind of drew out this higher time frame wedge pattern. Once we're able to break above, you can see Friday. Now we like to see this reversal back towards the upside here on AMD. The key levels that we're going to have marked out, let's go back onto the lower time frame, is now just going to be your previous day highs. So the key levels that we have marked out is going to be that previous day highs, 226. You can see nice gap up on Friday, hold, and now we're gapping up today. What we like to see now, as I mentioned, is the hold above your 226. If we can hold above your 226, we could be looking for this pushback up in towards our pre-market highs and above. So this is going to be the key level. Another possible long is going to be above your pre-market high for a continuation higher here as well. So AMD and Nvidia, some of my main watches coming into market open today. We'll head on to some of the other names, TSMMU here in a bit. But for the semiconductors, showing a lot of strength here. So we'll continue to look for upside, specifically on the semis. Now let's go on to Tesla. All right. As for Tesla, this one hit our all-time highs not too long ago. A little bit of sellers stepping in, taking profits at all-time highs, and now we're having a little bit of a pullback. So for Tesla, this one, as the market's bouncing, not too much strength here. We've had a little bit more weakness ever since hitting our all-time highs, which was a key objective. Now this one's just showing a little bit more weakness. You can see higher time frames, right, showing a little bit more weakness on Friday, broke underneath key levels, retested and continued to the downside. Now coming into today here for Tesla, the levels that I do have marked out is going to be that 436 along with our 453. So these are the main two levels that I have marked out. Currently, we're kind of in between its previous day's range. Other levels I can draw out here as well as just your pre-market range. So for Tesla, if we can break outside this pre-market range towards the downside, we have room back down in towards your previous day close. If we break it towards the upside, potentially we can see move up in towards our 454. So you can just kind of mark out this pre-market range here and just trade off of intraday price action. Just keep in mind we are in between its previous day's range, so you want to be a little bit more cautious of this one. But that's what we have for Tesla coming into today. Not too much to talk about on this one. I'm going to be more focusing on the semiconductors personally. As for Apple, yeah, the rest of the names, there's not too much going on the tech side. Really, it's just been primarily the semiconductors that have been having the most opportunity. As for Apple, you can see very little volume the past couple of weeks. Not really a clear direction, something that you don't really want to be trading. The only day that was actually good to trade here was on Friday of last week. Besides that, here, Apple consolidation, key levels that you're just going to have marked out. It's going to be your last week's lows. We have your 272 here as well. I'm not going to look at Apple until we can have some sort of news catalyst or some more momentum here in the markets. As for Google, this one ended up bouncing nicely back towards the upside here. Friday, another big day here as well. So let's go on to the lower time frames actually. Key levels that we have on Google is our 316, which is a key level from last week. We now have your previous day lows along with your previous day highs. So for Google, what we like to see for some upside, break above 316, hold for a potential move up and towards our 321. Break underneath your 316, we can see it push right back down in towards that previous day low. So for Google, really this one kind of right in between the middle, not something we want to take a look at until we have a little bit more information. As for Meta, this one, kind of a couple of rejections here off this daily gap, consolidation here as well. So not too much to talk about here on Meta. You can just draw this range that we've created for the past 20 to 40 sessions. We want to see upside. Now it's going to really be above your 680. So let's go back onto the lower time frames. You can see just a lot more consolidation here right in between the key levels that we have marked out. We have the top of the range, we have equilibrium, and we have the bottom of the range. So just trading inside of a range here on Meta. As for Amazon, fairly similar thing, a lot of consolidation here as well. So not too much to talk about on this one. So as you can see, a lot of these tech names don't really have too many higher time frame setups besides the semiconductors. So those are the ones that we're going to be focusing on here. As for Amazon, just the key levels. So I want, just so you guys know, it's going to be that last week's lows, 229, of course, the level that we broke down from 231. As for Microsoft, this one's actually been showing a lot more weakness really the past couple of months towards the downside. This one, of course, is staying heavy as well. For Microsoft, if we can actually break underneath that 472, potentially we can see some more continuation lower towards the downside. So for Microsoft, the levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be this 471. If we can break underneath, potentially we can see some more downside back down in towards that 465. So that's what we have for Microsoft. And of course, for Netflix, this one, similar thing to Microsoft, has been showing a lot more weakness. Key levels for Netflix now is going to be this low, 82. If we can break underneath and hold, we can see that next level down in towards that 82 here on the higher time frame. So for Netflix, key levels that we have marked out, as you can see, we have multiple touches, consolidation, break underneath. Now, as long as you can maintain underneath that 92.50, we can be looking for more continuation towards the downside. So for the semiconductors, that's the main watches that I'm going to be looking for today. As for the rest of the tech names, as you can see, there's really not much to talk about besides the semiconductors. So we'll continue to focus on the semiconductors, Nvidia, AMD. We'll take a look at MU and TSM here in a second. But if you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat and I'll go over them for the next kind of 5 to 10 minutes here. There's a bunch of other levels to mark over and some names to go over here. So I'll actually go over a decent amount of them before I get ready for market open. Yeah, if you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop a like. If you guys haven't joined the daily watch list, that of course is in the description below. Okay, let's read the chat here. Some of you guys are mentioning, what's up everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Let's go into Palantir first. I'll go over some semis and then I'll go over some gold and silver. So for Palantir, as you can see here, Palantir key level that we have marked out was really this daily gap that we kind of filled towards the upside. Higher time frame key level here was our 192 as well, which we broke back underneath. And now you can see showing a little bit more weakness. We did have some news in the after hours. Sorry, some news over the weekend, which affected Palantir just by a little bit. We're gapping up about 3% here. But for Palantir moving forward, the key level it's going to have to reclaim is back above really this 178. You can kind of just draw this level out. You can see we have multiple touches, Once we held this level, we had a nice continuation higher, broke back underneath. You saw a pretty big move towards the downside. So for Palantir, let's go back onto the lower time frames. The key levels I have marked out is going to be that 178 along with our 167. So pretty big day here on Friday. We are opening up in between the middle of the range. So as I mentioned, if any name is opening up in between the middle of the range, we want to be a little bit more cautious coming into market open. As for Palantir, now what we can just draw it is our pre-market range here as well. So we can just draw out that pre-market range. Since we had a pretty big range on Friday, if we break underneath that pre-market low, you can see it push back down in towards our previous day close. Break above, we can see that push up in towards our 178. So just draw your pre-market range coming into today here for Palantir. Now let's go on to some of the semiconductors. So let's first talk about MU. So MU has been one of the leaders towards the upside. Really, once we broke out of this key level here from September, this has been in a very clear uptrend towards the upside. We had earnings not too long ago, and that really that really pushed up the overall semiconductor market, specifically SMH, that helped out Nvidia, AMD, and the rest of the semis as well. But as you can see here for MU, really big daily time frame break towards the upside, and on Friday another big daily candle, and of course now we're gapping up here as well. So for MU coming into market open, it would be very difficult to look for longs just because we're gapping up. Sorry, we already had a gap up plus a 10% day. Now we're gapping up once again here in the in the pre-market and in the after hours. So coming into market open here for MU, key levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be that pre-market low, and now we can just draw this pre-market high here as well. And of course, our other level is going to be that previous day highs. So for MU coming to market open, the longs are going to be either off your previous day highs, which in this case is fairly far away. I wouldn't be interested in this as much just because it would be a fairly steep pullback. Another possible scenario is going to be that hold above your pre-market lows for that continuation higher, or now it's going to be above your pre-market highs for that push towards the upside. So you have about 3 scenarios here on MU. As I mentioned, I'll be very cautious on this one here now, just because we already had such a big push higher. But if you do want to look for potential scalping opportunities, these are going to be the key levels you're going to keep an eye on: 324, 328, and your previous day highs, 314. There is a potential for a gap fill reversal here as well, so always keep that in mind. If we break underneath that pre-market lows, potentially you could be looking for a reversal play back down in towards that 314 previous day highs for a short underneath your pre-market lows. Let's go on to TSM. So TSM, another semiconductor that has been pushing up nicely towards the upside. We're actually recently breaking up out of this consolidation period. So as you can see here, nice push towards upside. We've really been consolidating for the past couple of months here on TSM, and now you can see nice breakout on Friday, and now what we can expect is continuation higher. So let's keep an eye out on TSM moving forward for that continued push towards the upside, or even this potential retest for continuation higher here as well. So the key levels that we're going to have marked out on TSM now is going to be that previous day highs, and we're just going to draw out our pre-market levels here as well. So we have your previous day highs, which is your 321 in your pre-market levels. We're either going to be looking for the bounce off your pre-market lows for a continuation higher, break above your pre-market highs for continuation higher, or similar thesis as before, the bounce off of your previous day highs for buyers to step in for continuation towards the upside. So 3 scenarios on TSM as well. Same thing like MU. I'll be a little bit more cautious in being aggressive right off the bat, just because we already had a big push on Friday. We're having another gap up on Monday. There could be a decent amount of fake outs right off the bat coming into market open. So be a little bit more cautious on chasing these semis towards the upside. I do like AMD and Nvidia for a pullback long. So those are going to be the main ones to keep an eye out for. As for a few other tickers, I see some of you guys typing in the chat. Let me go over IWM. And I'll go over some gold and silver here. So for IWM, as you can see here, the key levels that we have marked out is going to be that 252. You can see we have multiple touches, broke above, or now we're just kind of consolidating, trading around this general area. If you want to see upside, it's going to be above your 252, downside underneath your 252. So for the key levels on IWM, what we have marked out is going to be that 252 higher time frame key pivot point. Other levels that we have 249 along with our 247. So for IWM coming into market open today, break above 249.50 for continuation higher. Another possible scenario, bounce off your 247 for this continuation higher here as well. So for IWM, that is what we have marked out. Let me go on to a few other tickers here before I get ready for market open. Join the premium, but couldn't get into the live trading. No, everything is in the Discord. So make sure if you're in the Discord, you have access to the live trading. We go live at 9:25 every single morning. I'll send out a Zoom link, and it's also in the Discord as well. As for silver, key levels coming into today, as you can see, there's always a lot of gap ups on silver. You can see gap ups, gap downs, very volatile in the overnight sessions. But for silver here coming into market open, the key level that we're going to have marked out is going to be the 68. I actually still have these levels from a couple weeks ago, but key levels that I have marked out, I have your 67. I also have your 68.50. Upside, reclaim back above your 68.50 for continuation higher. Potential rejection, we can see this push back down in towards that Friday's highs and potentially your Friday's close here. So that's what we have for silver, at least on the higher time frames. I'm still very much bullish on this one. As you can see, really solid push towards the upside. Now we're just consolidating. We're just going to be waiting for that next kind of break towards the upside here on this ticker. As for gold, let's check out GLD. Let me actually just go to here. As for gold, this one, another one that's pushing up nicely towards the upside. Key levels that we have marked out. Let me actually just go on to this, the gold futures. Or let me actually just go on to the Forex version. Oops. XUA, USD. So for the key levels that I have on gold, I guess I don't have the levels marked out, or actually I do. Key levels that we have is really just this previous all-time highs pivot point. Let's go back onto the lower time frame. So really on the hourly chart, as you can see, we end up breaking above your all-time highs not too long ago. Nice continuation higher. Now we're trying to reclaim back above this key level. So for at least the daily chart, that's what's key here. The daily time frame is still very much bullish. As you can see, every single dip has been bought up. Now, as long as we can reclaim back above this key level, we can expect that push right back up and towards our all-time highs. So moving forward, this is going to be key. If we can maintain above, we can see continuation higher. We get back underneath, we're going to see this potential reversal here in the market. So that's what we have for gold along with silver. That was most of those names as well. SoFi, consolidation, not too much to talk about. A couple names kind of bouncing off these key lows. So as you can see, the main thing here is a bunch of the semis have been pushing up nicely. Besides that, actually Intel is looking really solid here as well. So as you can see, the key levels that we have marked out on Intel is going to be that 40 key psych. Once we break above, now we can see this potential kind of reversal back up in towards our 44. So this is something to keep an eye out on here as well. As I mentioned, a lot of the semiconductors is going to be key. So let's keep an eye out on the semiconductors with SMH, since that has been what's moving the market. That's what's in a clear trend. So for Intel, key levels is going to be that pre-market high. What we're going to keep an eye out on is going to be that bounce off your previous day highs, or now it's going to be the break above your pre-market highs for continuation higher. So two scenarios, keep an eye out on all the semiconductors coming into market open. Let's go over my game plan once more, and then I am going to get ready for market open here. Okay. All right. So coming into market open here, the game plan is still going to be intact. We had a pretty big day here on Friday. As I mentioned, pretty big range on Friday. Right now, we're about to open right up in between the middle of the range. So as I mentioned, be cautious coming to market open, right? We had a lot of volatility on Friday, but right off the bat, I don't expect a clear direction just because we're in between its previous day's range. If we want to go long, look for the pullback longs back down in towards our 614, or look for that 619 reclaim right off the bat. If you're looking for any sort of short positions, potential pop and fade, or now it's going to be underneath that 614 SPY. Similar kind of game plan here. Friday's range, the key levels that we do have is your 684.50. So as you can see, so far buyers are stepping in above your 684.50. We can be looking for the bounce off that, or now it's going to be the break above your previous day highs for continuation. My main watch, as I mentioned, is going to be the semiconductors. So right off the bat, I'm going to focus in on all the semiconductors since this is what's been moving the market. This is what's been having a clear trend higher. So keep an eye out on semiconductors right off the bat, pre-market high break above for continuation, or a potential kind of pullback long for a push higher. My main watch is coming to today. Nvidia, break above your 192.50, continuation towards the upside, main watch. AMD, another main watch here as well, higher time frame breaking out. Let's see if we can get that pullback long back down in towards your previous day highs for continuation. So Nvidia, AMD, main watches. And then of course, we'll keep an eye out on MU, we'll keep an eye out on TSM and Intel as well, just because these have been pushing up nicely in the pre-market. Other names to keep an eye out on here as well is going to be Tesla, right? Friday's range, we can just kind of mark out this pre-market range here on Tesla, break underneath, we can see your previous day close. If we can reclaim back above, potential push back up and towards your 645. At least for everything else, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious on. As I mentioned, I'm going to be focusing on the semiconductors coming into market open. So that is most likely going to be it for me today. As I mentioned, it is a brand new week. It's also a brand new month as well. So right off the bat, I know a lot of people, they're going to be super trigger happy, at least coming to market open, just because it's a brand new year. They're going to be super excited to trade. Sometimes that can cause, right, taking too many aggressive setups or oversizing right off the bat since everyone's coming back from holidays, right? Just be a little bit more cautious right off the bat today, right? Wait for that first kind of 15 to 30 minutes to play out. We do have some red folder news as well, which is going to be right at 10 a.m. So it's best to most likely just wait for that first kind of 15 minutes to develop. If we do have any clear trends on the semis, right, that's what's going to be key. As I mentioned, keep an eye out on Nvidia and AMD coming into market open. Besides that, indices are in the middle of the range, so we'll be a little bit more cautious. And yeah, that's about it. So hopefully you guys did enjoy that. If you did, appreciate it if you guys drop a like. If you guys haven't joined the daily watch list, of course, that is in the description below as well. Live trading is inside the Discord. So if you're inside the Discord, you'll be able to access that. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today. And I will see you guys all tomorrow. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.